Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So, RadFems encourage women to essentially reject what they call traditional or normative beauty standards. So, you will see them encourage women to stop shaving, hairy armpits, to not focus on being trim and slim, but to embrace the sort of obesity. And this is where you get the fat positivity movement. I've covered this a lot in the past. It's quite ludicrous, to be honest. Some even say don't wear makeup, but at the same time, they also wear very strange makeup. So, insane spider eyelashes, super winged eyeliner, bombastic colors, look very drag queen-esque, to be honest with you. And so they're not consistent in the makeup department, but I have seen some more bohemian hippie type of feminists who don't wear like mascara or eyeshadow, and they're not too different from me in terms of being au natural. Okay. Now, what I think is interesting is that I have my notes here, so I want to make sure I word this right. They see rejecting the beauty standards as a form of resistance, and they desire for women to focus on self-acceptance and functionality over appearance. So, functionality versus appearance. Now, when you have children and you're going through the trenches, some people say having a 2-year-old is harder than having a newborn. Each mom will say which child at a certain point in their time was difficult for them. Okay. So some parents, they have a colicky baby, newborn, right? Others, they have a toddler who's a little tornado, terrible twos. Some just have a little potato newborn who is really chill and doesn't give them much problem. Others have a very obedient 2-3-year-old, you name it. Some kids get into trouble more when they get into school, or their teenage years. No matter which way you square it, there's going to be a time where the parent finds a difficulty, okay? So a mom will change depending on that time period. So wearing her hair more in a bun, braided, French braids. You're not really going to see too many women with their hair down as they're hovering over a newborn, unless they're trying to create a fake reel for Instagram. It's less about looking like a doll and more about, I need my hair out of my way because it's 3 a.m. and I'm trying to take care of this baby, right? So, like, for example, you go into the gym, you'll see women with their hair down, full face of makeup, doused in perfume, basically wearing underwear, working out. This isn't functional, this is a thirst trap. But then you'll see a woman in a loose t-shirt, loose pants, no makeup, and she's just grinding, like, whoa, and she's all sweaty. She's in it to win it. She's not there to really prance about and distract the men and create the evil eye in women. She's just there to burn some calories and do her thing and go home. Or go to work, right? So, functionality over appearance. Now, what's interesting is that this is a pushback from the sort of classical imagery and marketing where the housewife her hair is always perfect. Now, depending on your support network, like, do you have a grandparent to help you, a cousin, a sister, a brother, you name it, a good friend, you hire a nanny, you hire a maid, who can help you while you doll yourself up. So, the RadFems, in this regard, are pushing back against the expectancy of women to consistently look like a pinup doll all the time, no matter the hour, and because it can be quite exhausting, and it puts a lot of pressure on women to be like, how do I balance looking good? I remember there was a Latina lady who, I let her live with us for a little while with her kids. She said basically in Spanish that you'll see a woman who's all dolled up, but her kid is like filled with mocos, like boogers. Like, her kid looks like trash, but the mom is all put together well. And this kind of shows how some moms look like moms, and the children look prime, but she puts the children before herself, and she looks more run down sometimes because she's run ragged and she's really putting her best foot forward. And then there's women who the child really hasn't eaten a proper meal, but she has her nails done, she has her eyelashes, she has her foundation, her clothes are fresh, her kid's got, you know, chocolate pudding on his shirt, he hasn't brushed his teeth, he just doesn't look very good. And so you see this balance of, okay, how do you maintain yourself and maintain your kids, but a good mom will maintain the children first. And so the RadFems, with this rejection of these sort of normative, modern predicaments of beauty standards, they're trying to, I think, remind women that functionality is important. And I can agree with that. The fun part is that in Islam, you wear your hijab, your khimar, your niqab, your burqa, whichever you prefer, but either way, your loose clothing covering your hair. This takes off a lot of pressure to put on that sort of social mask, because there is an expectation in some communities where the housewife has a bunch of makeup on, and, you know, she's supposed to look like, you know, a dime. She's supposed to really put all effort in. And this is why you see in Italian culture, I gotta go skip an ad, hold on. And this is why you see in Italian culture, especially, women trimming their hair real short. For, you know, and I saw a lot of Mormon women do this as well in Utah. Once they had kids, their hair became shorter, because for them it was about function. But the husband didn't really like the shorter hair. So there was that, keep your hair long, going down to your back. It's very elegant. It's like a primal signal of fertility. This is something that was, you know, a struggle. And then Princess Diana comes in and really makes the shorter hair more popular, right? And, you know, the whole history of hairstyles in general is quite interesting. And, you know, there's that scene in The Sopranos where Carmela cuts her hair short and Tony's like, huh? And then I saw a conversation not too long ago by a Christian influencer who said, hey, should a woman ask her husband before she cuts her hair? And then some women replied saying, hey, he doesn't even notice. Others said, no, you should, especially if you're going to drastically change it, because hairstyle does matter. You know, how you do your hair, the colors, everything, it either can subtract from your beauty or add to it. So the point is that in Islam, you're covering your hair, so there's less pressure to look like, you know, hey, I'm so perfect, you know? And this is like, okay, put your hair in a bun, put your hair in a braid, put on your Islamic clothing, and go out and do run your errands with your husband and whatnot. You know, so I find that to be quite wonderful. For example, I saw a picture, I don't know how many princesses there are of Dubai, but I saw a picture of a princess of Dubai, and she had so much makeup on, it literally looked like a drag queen. Like, I literally was like, how do you, like, that's so much makeup. Like, it looks terrible. Like, what has happened to this lady? And she was getting married to a rapper or something, or a guy who used to be a rapper. And I was like, man, you got all that money, but you're still that insecure, and you're just piling on all that makeup. It looks like Ronald McDonald, like someone took your face and just like pressed it into a cake, and then it brought you up. So the amount of money as well is a huge thing. And so, like, if you think of that Princess of Dubai, how many hours is she spending doing that makeup? If you have a baby and you have multiple children, you can't be sitting in front of your mirror for that long. And it's quite selfish to expect somebody to be like, hey, you watch my kid for 3 hours while I get ready every day, because you got your 30-minute shower, you know, style your hair, because I'm sure she's not air drying it, and then putting on your makeup. That's at least 2 hours, at least. And as you know, if you have a toddler, you got other children, you got chores to do, this is like intense. And then before you know it, it's time for bed, and you're gonna take a shower, or you're gonna wash all that makeup off. You're like, what's going on here? So it's not very functional to really wear that amount of makeup. So like the Princess of Dubai level makeup is so extreme that you're like, I can't be spending time doing that. You know, sometimes your baby only gives you a half an hour window of no crying, and that's when you gotta tend to the other children to make sure they get time with you. You need time to learn, you need time to eat, you need time to do other tasks. And sitting in the front of the mirror and doing your makeup, you have to ask yourself at the end of the day, does your husband like your natural face, or does he only like your dolled up face? And how many women are using AI filters in Photoshop and like all different additives to alter what their face really looks like? And I have seen threads of different Christian female influencers, what they look like in real life without their makeup from their profile pic on X, and you're just like, that literally looks like a different person. And so I can see when RadFems are pointing out how that expectation of looking like a politician's wife at every minute of the day when you have small children can be quite exhausting. And then I see women push back. I saw some like of the black gold digger Shira 7 type women say that if you don't do your makeup every day, you're a lesbian. So, you know, it's really quite funny. You know, and then one RadFem, RFH, she said that it's performative, that men don't care if you wear a lot of makeup. So it's fascinating to see the argument around makeup in general with the RadFems, okay? But I think that it's important to understand that being healthy and confident and having a good self-esteem should go hand in hand with reality, okay? So Islam encourages us to maintain our beauty for our husbands, and your beauty is for your husband, and you don't need to let a non-permissible man see it. So it's important for us to know that you don't have to overcompensate with makeup because you're not showing your hair. A lot of Muslim women struggle with this, is that they show all their makeup to a bunch of people because they feel insecure about not being able to show their hair or their figure. So they got like high levels of makeup, and then you ask yourself, is your wudu valid, and are you doing your wudu properly? Because if you did, it would mess up your makeup. So are you compromising your salah in order to have the makeup? You know, so functionality versus appearances. So something to think about, but it's important for us not to get in a whirlwind of what these RadFems expect you to have of your makeup or of your body, and to understand what your husband wants. So if your husband wants you to be trim, you should really work on that. If he wants you to keep your hair long, you should really consider that, because you want to keep your marriage together. So it's important for women to know that a lot of RadFems are divorced, and they don't really care about how you keep your man or anything like that. And so keep that in mind, and don't let the RadFems sort of twist you down a very odd path, okay? Because they're not there to give you advice on how to keep yourself trim for your husband. Let me know what you think. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, and join the blog. My little one is watching Zaki, the little purple bear, the Muslim cartoon, and I think that's a very great show. So if you want to check it out, go check it out. No, this is not a paid sponsorship, but I think that it's good to have some Islamic cartoons in the age of Netflix. So go check that out, their channel, especially if you have small kids, and join the blog. Do it today, now.